Welcome to the next part of our growth, GDP and growth chapter. In this part, we will start defining GDP, and then we will see how the different methods that could be used to calculate GDP. Um, so, well, GDP is the measurement of the final goods and services produced in an economic system. And those goods and services, as I have added before, I have defined before, are mainly, uh, well, give values using the prices in the market. So in a way, it is measuring the production level, but only production level of the goods and services that are bought and sold within the market. Well, a regular way of defining it is if you cook a meal and eat that meal, then that's not part of GDP. But if you cook a meal and sell that meal, in that case, that meal will be in the GDP. Well, one aspect of it could be, for example, if people eat their meal in the house, meals are produced in that country, but they are produced by the families, not by companies. So GDP will remain low because those meals are not counted in the GDP. However, if the same meals people start to eat more outside, they basically go outside. But again, meals are produced by in this country, but those meals are now produced and sold. So now those meals will be in the GDP. Technically, the production level might be the same, so since meals are produced in both types of countries. But in one country, because meals are sold, their GDP will look higher. And this might be thought also as a factor that might actually show GDP growth rate larger than it actually is in some countries. Although, of course, this is not the only. Well, especially when we are thinking about the countries with high growth rate, this is obviously not the only reason, but this might be one thing that might be kind of inflating the growth rates in some cases. So typically, well, another example is if a mother cares for the child, that's not in GDP, but if a nanny cares for a child, that's in the GDP. But the other thing is the second-hand products that are bought and sold are not part of the GDP. So if I have an iPhone that is already bought, but if I sell that iPhone is not part of the GDP because it was already produced and sold to me before. However, if just for your notice, if I put my iPhone to the eBay or I don't know any Turkish equivalent of eBay, Gitti Gidiyor, that was a site in Turkey, and I sell my or Amazon, and I sell my iPhone through that internet site. The money I got is not part of GDP, but a small commission is paid to eBay, and that commission is because the service provided by eBay that brings me and the buyer together. That cost is part of GDP because that's a service that is technically bought by us, by me and by that person. And well, the other thing is inputs are basically not part of GDP, or uh, since we are counting the final goods, when we are just using the input, when we are just adding the values of the products, we need to take the final goods, not the intermediate goods. And this is because of that. Assume that we have apple and apple pie. So basically, let's say this apple is $100 and this apple pie is $200. So first, well, if we count both apple and apple pie in the GDP, basically, we are double counting apple because in the economy at the end of the year, we don't have both apple and apple pie available to the people. Rather, first apple is produced and then with other inputs it is turned into a pie. So in the end, in our economy, as the what is the amount of production that is done in a particular year, apple pie is the thing that is available, and apple is only available inside of the apple pie. So if you count both apple and apple pie, in that case we are double counting the apple inside of the apple pie. That's why we are counting the final products. But if the same apple is eaten, consumed and eaten by a person, in that case that apple can be counted. Well, this is done. So, but in some cases we might also calculate. We might also concentrate on, let's say, specific companies and their contribution to GDP. In that case, we are not counting specifically the value, the value of the complete value of the products or complete the value of their products. Rather, we calculated the value they add to the product, and what that means I will explain in a minute. But basically, when we think about potential output that is inside of the GDP, that output is technically only the final output, not intermediate outputs. Basically, output is not inside of the GDP. So this is one thing. So how do we calculate GDP? As I said, this intermediate output complexity makes it difficult to calculate GDP. So we need to calculate a method that will give us the value of the final output, basically, in the economic system. And basically, there are three methods, and we should basically somehow eliminate the intermediate goods, or eliminate at least a double counting that could be created by counting the intermediate goods. And basically, there are three methods that are suggested. One is the value added method. That's actually we look to specific companies and we see how much value they add to the product they produce. This is method one. Method two is the second one I will introduce is the aggregate income method. And here we have a specific logic of the mainstream economics. I say specific logic of the mainstream economics, which is the economics you see in this course, of course. I see that because in Marxian school, at least, this logic is challenged. So that logic is basically says that in any economic system, it is assumed that different actors are contributing to the production. They are taking in the production process and they take a role in transforming the inputs or the intermediate products into outputs and commodities or goods, basically, that are bought and sold. And the payment they got in return to contribute in this production process is, according to mainstream economics, equal to the value of their contribution. Note that we were measuring value using the price level. So if I get $100, that $100 is exactly equal to the value of my contribution, according to mainstream economics, when everything is working fine, of course. So if that's my contribution to the production, if you add up the contribution of everyone in the economy, all factors of production in the economy. Some person can have contributed by working. Some people might contributed by lending money. Some people might have contributed by, let's say, actually letting their machinery, their capital to be used, and everyone gets equal to the value of the contribution. If you add all of these values, you got the value of the total production in the economic system. Since in the whole economy, the total value added at that year to all inputs available at the beginning of this year and create the output of this year. So the value of the outputs and the value of inputs, basically, that value of inputs used that year and value of output produced that year, if you get the difference, that difference is equal to the contribution of everyone in the economic system, since they got what they have contributed. If you have taxes, of course, part of that is also taken by the state. Part of the value created is taken by the state. So income of everyone, when you sum up, that's equal to the value of total production level in the economic system, according to this logic. That's why when you add all income level in the economic system earned in that country, since this is GDP, not GMP, then you got GDP. Well, similarly, everything that is produced is bought by people. Of course, if you have exports, then part of what you produce are sold to the outside countries. And if you have imports, part of what is produced, but is bought, is taken from foreign countries. So you need to get total expenditure, everything, total amount of money that is spent to buy goods in that economic system. Subtract imports, since that imports are part of expenditure but not produced in that country, and add the exports. Why? Because they are not part of the expenditure in that country, but still part of the production. And then in return, you got again the value of total production level in the economic system. So, which method is used? Basically, at least this aggregate expenditure and aggregate income methods are used together to see whether there is any mistake in calculation. Usually they are not equal, and the fact that they are not equal is explained by accounting mistakes, since the recordings is not perfect, basically. But if they are more or less equal, then you can more confidently say GDP at that country is at that level at a certain year. I see some countries use value added method, but as far as I know, it's not used as much as the other two methods. Anyway, let's continue. So, this is basically value added method. If you are talking about a corporation, and that corporation takes an apple pie that has a value of $4 and produce an apple pie with that apple that has a value of $10. I assume everything except that apple, all inputs, sugars, water, things like that. Not machinery. Machinery is contributing to the production, but all other inputs have a negligible value, maybe 0.5, I don't know, maybe $0.05 per apple pie. If you think apple is the only input which has a significant value, and if apple is $4 and if apple pie is $10, in that case, the value added, if apple is the apple is $6 and if apple pie is $10, in that case the value added by that corporation, which might be a restaurant probably, but it can be a factory, by producing that apple pie is $4. So for that country, you got that $4 into the GDP. And for each corporation, you need to calculate that value added for that corporation, basically. So for this value added method, actually, one thing you should be careful of is all of the, let's say, factors of production, the people who actively, the factors that are active according to mainstream economics, again, transforming that input to output are part of the value added. So the wages are part of the value added, the profits are part of the value added. If you pay interest to a bank, that's part of value added, because that interest, that money is also considered in mainstream economics as a factor that contributes to the production, that helps this production process, basically. Rent is part of it. Taxes, maybe state helps, maybe doesn't, but at least state takes the money from the value added. So all of these are part of the value added. Only the input costs should be subtracted, because in the end you are added to those value to those inputs, basically. Anyway, let's end now. I will talk more on this method, but let's see in the next part.